Hello and welcome. I know it's been a minute, but I just kind of want to share, without Dark Souls in my life, it feels as though something's missing. You know, dialectics often talks about the relation between two things, but how then do we achieve true balance? Would the yin-yang be as balanced if it were merely two pieces going at one another without the interconnected holes between them? That common difference among them, then creating the sense of a greater whole, is that what we are to recognize, or are we to return to Dark Souls? There's always more to learn about the path of the chosen undead, but I think recently in my own life, the applications have been disastrous. Without work, school, and Dark Souls, I went from riding a tricycle to riding a bike, and that bike wasn't much fun. And honestly, having just beat Seath the Scaleless, I should have learned a lesson or two from Big Hat Logan's escapade into the Duke's archives. But I think there's something sort of good about the challenges we face. They provide opportunities for growth in ways that we don't account for. And when we take things that used to be three and turn them into two, you know what we got room for if two doesn't work out? The part-time revolution. The world around us is constantly on fire. Now, is that to say that we can never play Dark Souls again? Yes, but we will. The path of the chosen undead does not end with the age of fire. The chosen undead must lead the age of dark as well. Otherwise, putting out the first flame means nothing. And it's not even the real first flame. It's the first flame Gwyn sacrificed himself to extend the age of fucking fire to the age of twilight. We gotta sometimes open our eyes to the world around us. And that's one of the things I think that we lose when we watch too much stuff on like the news, or when we think too much about the structures around us. We consider them as if there can't be two things, because even when you look at the work in school aspect, during the summer I was doing a lot of various other things besides Dark Souls. I learned to juggle while fascism took rise in America. How many other people can say that? If you learn to juggle, you can. And actually, all it takes is, never mind. If I talk more about juggling, eventually I'm gonna have to do it, and I'm not good at it. But like, conceptually, the understanding is there. And it's like a year ago, there was a book, I think it's actually up here, and I was in a half-price book, and I found this book on the female form, and in here, there are pages that look like almost just pencil scratchings. You can't quite make out the figure or the form behind like what the intent is, but you know that there's something there. And that representation through like highlighted detail fascinated me. So over the past year I've been, well, actually if I talk about that then, no, we're not gonna talk about that here either. I've been trying to grow in as many areas as I can, because there's only a limited amount of time we have on Earth. And if we spend every day studying for the rest of our lives, we'll never have the opportunity to know what grand splendor the world holds for us that we didn't get to study. And at the same time, so often in my day-to-day life, I feel as though I'm looking back at the places happiness used to sit, and I go, well, hey, whoa, why am I not happy anymore? And it's because I'm not juggling, or roller skating, or going and doing acting stuff and playing Shakespeare like make-believe to try and understand a character hundreds of years ago, like fawning over a boy, you know? Like, it's, if we aren't happy, we can always change like how we are engaging with the environment we're within, But if we sit and fixate on the things that put us in our environment, it becomes a lot more self-defeating and isolationist. And I think probably that's what that lady on my way out, when I was out of the Navy and stuff, they hit me with a personality disorder, unspecified personality disorder. And it was like self-destructive, or not self-destructive, but like self-defeating. And that's a weird thing to tell someone on their way out of the, like, you're forcing them out of the Navy because they were trans, and you go, oh, by the way, you also have a really shitty fucking personality as a result of all this, but we're not gonna really talk about it much. And it's, whoa! But I think if I stayed that person, I'd probably be miserable. But if I stayed that person, I mean, I wouldn't be here now. And while me here now may be upset about me back then has no control over me now, because me back then had no idea me now would even be here where I am. And so what did me then know of me now, if not that me now would know better than me then, because me now has grown from me then, you know? And sometimes I think that's just all we gotta understand is if we're not there yet, we just gotta find our way. I'm opening up a church pretty soon. It's gonna be the Church of the Nonprofit. We are going to worship Sticky Basket, which, spoiler, that's me. And also you, and also everyone you know, if you teach them our doctrine. But the idea behind it is just like, community doesn't have to be centered around beliefs in mythical things if we can find stories in the real world that compel us to understand the structures we exist within, the stories that motivate and empower us to recognize what's wrong with the systems we fight against, and through our testimony build up a means of combating the oppression that exists within the system. I didn't think of it much further than just like everyone gives me a bunch of money and then I don't have to work anymore. But like, I think that, you know, if anyone's gonna take advantage of you, why not let me? 'Cause everyone's going to try under capitalism, but I don't think we should live under capitalism. I think we should live under Sticky Basket. I was telling my group, the Democrat Socialists, that we should be the United Socialists of America. That way we could keep the branding. But like, that's the thing, is oftentimes the fear we feel from the systems in power only have that power over us because we grant it to them through what we understand of those systems. And there's a lot of fear to be had in the unknown. But when you, I guess, know the system, well, hey, there used to be a Matrix sign up around here somewhere when we were talking about the woke. Because you got to understand the system around you to be able to fight against it, and everyone around you, you have to understand they're on their own business and they don't necessarily see the same system you see. Even, I mean, not without the literal, like, machine part of it. You could consider each perspective to be its own unique interpretation of the world, because no two of us are going to have the same ones, yet we'll feel the same feelings like happiness, sadness, and all that. But we're more than how we feel in a moment. We're more than what we think in a moment. We are the agents who pick up books in the store and then learn to doodle tits using like 3 lines in a circle. And you know, I think there's something beautiful about that human experience. I went to a protest earlier today, and that's kind of why I wanted to make this video, is just so I could share about that, because it's incredible to go to a place that you know inside and out because you once drove those streets on the inside, and you're standing outside the gate saying how bad the actions of the people on the inside are, knowing that you once were one of the people on the inside. I think Martin Luther wrote a lot about that in his 95 thesis, where he talks about how, like, Jesus preaches about a life of repentance, not a life of indulgence. So the Pope selling indulgences around that time is what sort of caused him to, you know, have his sort of like spin-off sect of Christianity, which a lot of good stories to be learned there, but the systems underlying them are kind of fundamentally flawed in a way that, wouldn't it be great if we could just make the same exploitative system and then not use it for exploitation? Wouldn't that be an idea? If only someone could think of an idea like that. Well, that's all I got. Make sure that when you're out there, you're being kind to others, and that you're, you know, be kind to yourself too. And if you can do something, definitely do it, because we got to avoid doing nothing at all costs. I've been putting off some homework assignments, and I tell you what, that thing stacks up so fast, and then pretty soon you have not enough time to get the assignment done, and you're crunching on whether or not you should do this part or that part, not realizing that it's not about whether you should have done this part or that part. You shouldn't have put it off. So we got to recognize our mistakes. We got to grow from them. We got to... Anyway, you know the rest. Stick around and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Love you. Bye.